Let's get some further analysis on the situation and bring in Hakan Camuz, who is the head of international law at Stoke White, which is an international law firm that investigates war crimes. He joins us now from Istanbul. Hakan, good to have you on the show. All right, so help me understand this. If the hospital decides to sue Israel, how would it work? Which court's going to look over this?
Naturally, this will be Israeli courts they will use, and that will be within the jurisdiction of Israeli courts, of course. How successful they will be, we can actually look at the history of how courts literally protects Israeli forces from such prosecution. Now, we've never seen any tangible legal outcome from any of these complaints lodged by the prosecutors. And I say this with clear evidence, most of the courts in Israel, judges in Israel, do not necessarily go after any of these perpetrators of these crimes. I mean, the scenes in the funeral is just despicable conduct by these forces, yet they're allowed to get away with it, and no one, I can tell you right now, seems to be will be held accountable for their actions.
I mean, there have been many cases internationally, whether it's the International Criminal Court or the Court of Justice, that have been brought against Israel, but with little or no success. You're not very confident that if this trial is seen in Israel, that any realistic or any outcome is going to come.
I speak with experience with you. As you know, Shireen was an American national, and in America, there can be cases that will be brought against Israel. But last time, when my firm brought a case against the state of Israel on behalf of an American citizen, several of them who were injured, and one that was shot in the head by Israeli soldier, the American President Barack Obama shut our case down by an executive order and took the case out of the American jurisdiction system. That's how much Israel gets protected. The American judicial system protects Israeli soldiers from murdering people. They actually murder American citizens and get away with it. And our case wasn't the only one. As you probably remember, even the American nationals and soldiers who were shot by Israeli military in 1973 could not seek justice using their own legal system. When it comes to Israel, American justice system literally stops working.
So the fact that she was, the fact that she was half American, she was not a protester, she was not involved in the violence, that she was a journalist doing her job, none of this will have any weight on the case, you think?
I'm completely, I'm convinced that nothing's going to happen because of the experiences I have. I have defended families of American nationals who lost their loved one, and the President of the United States of America intervened in a legal case and stopped it on behalf of Israel under the auspices of national security. Same thing is going to happen to Shireen if they actually start filing cases, because Israel thinks their soldiers cannot be held accountable wherever or whoever it may be the victim. So Shireen, I hope, is not going to be another example where her name will be just written in the history of another victim killed by Israeli security forces, but never been held accountable. I hope her case will change things, but I am doubtful. Because killing journalists is something Israel gets away with, and no one holds them accountable for, nobody condemns them. It is so difficult, especially Western countries' leaders, to condemn such an act, let alone allowing judicial system to seek justice for a victim.
It is, Hakan, thank you. I mean, it is important to note, just in terms of fairness, that the Israeli police have opened up an investigation, and police said the results of the investigation will be presented to officials in the coming days. Hakan Camuz, thank you very much for joining us here on TRT World.